Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Lisa Rothstein Goldberg. She's joining us from Louisville, Kentucky. Hello and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
You are here to talk about your and my bar bat mitzvah
Yes.
parsha. We both had our celebration at Parshat Kedoshim. In this
hmm
parsha, we begin with the statement, "You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." And there are dozens of mitzvot, commandments, following this grandiose statement. There are mitzvot about the stranger and about the foreigner and about parents and about Shabbat, and many other topics are covered in this parsha. And I was hoping we can talk about at least a few of them. So let me start with the first one that always bothers me. There is a one of the first psukim of the parsha says, "Ish imo ve'aviv tirau ve'ed shabtotai tishmoru." In Hebrew, you shall respect and fear your parents and keep the Shabbath. What's Why are these two appear in the same verse?
Well, I think there's really sort of two, when I was thinking about this, there's really two things that came to mind. Number one was the Ten Commandments. They're both in the Ten Commandments, honoring Shabbat as well as honoring your parents. They're both in there. But also, I think it goes back to the notion of B'Tselem Elohim, that we're created in the image of God. And while we're not supposed to worship our parents the same way we worship God, I think it's
Although they
remind
wish we would.
yes, they wish we would. But I think it's a reminder that our parents are in the image of God and they're passing along these traditions to us. And Shabbat is a reminder of the rest of from the work week. And I think for us, it's a reminder of all the things that our parents have done for us. And so it's a reminder for the respect that we owe them, just like we owe God respect for creating the world. We owe our parents respect for creating us or raising us, or just the gifts that they give us that I think we take for granted. And I think that's kind of what Shabbat is about too, is just pausing to reflect on the things that we take for granted in the hustle and bustle of our week, even if it's just pausing to be thankful for the food on our table, or the family that we have around us, or just the everyday blessings that we have in our lives. And I think at least I found for me in the last year, definitely having my parents as part of my pandemic pod, it's definitely reminded me of that blessing to just be thankful for your parents is just the basic part of my existence. Yeah.
Right, and one of the things that are quite unique about this parsha, I'm not sure if I liked it when I was 13 years old, because it's like a shopping list or like a to-do list of something that covers so many different topics, from living share of the crop to poor people to dealing with complicated family relations and sexual relations to keeping the Shabbat and holidays. So, it's almost like someone said we have all these things that we aren't sure where to put to, so we just will throw them together and give them to you as a list.
Right. And it is very interesting that you would say that, because the book of Leviticus, it sort of is. It's sort of this book right smack in the middle. It's the middle book of the Torah, and it's Kedoshim, the holiness code, and it reminds us of ways to be holy, to be like God, which goes back to B'Tselem Elohim, creating an image of God, and we're supposed to replicate that. But and certainly it's interesting that you would mention B'nai Mitzvah, because certainly when you go through this as an adult, you have a different perspective than when
Oh, of
you're
course,
13.
certainly. As an adult,
And
it's one of the parshas as
yeah,
I like the most in the Torah.
yes. And I remember when I first went through this as a preteen, and going, okay, what do I do with this? But I think now that there's pieces in there about I think the list, it may seem like there's a bunch of different things in there, but I think what they all have in common is treating other people with respect. And the piece about leaving the vineyard bare, as it says in the text, is really this idea that everybody deserves dignity, even the poor. It's kind of that cliche phrase, it's not a hand up, it's not a handout, it's a hand up, where if you're giving charity to somebody, you're not just going to say, okay, here it is, but you would just walk away and just let them kind of find out what's there. And I think it in modern times, it's sort of the way we look at food pantries. Are we just going to hand somebody food, or are we just going to tell them to go in there and pick out what they want? And as someone who's been a volunteer and staffed food pantries, that's what I really do. I will just hand somebody a bag and say, there it is, go get what you want, tell me when you're done so I can close the door and lock it, and that's it. And I don't look at people and I'll see what they're taking. I just say, here's what it is, and go take it. And so that's sort of a modern approach to it. And then when you get to the piece about respecting the stranger, which is something that comes up a lot in the Torah, this memory of going out of Egypt, and here we are in the period of the Omer between Pesach and Shavuot, where we're supposed to remember this period of Exodus and remember that, hey, we were strangers too. I can't think of anything more timely as the United States keeps going through this immigration and this crisis at the border, and how are we going to treat the stranger? And over again, when we talk about this within a Jewish context, that's the theme that emerges. How are we going to treat immigrants to this country the same way we would want to be treated? And I know, as you know, as a great grandchild of immigrants, I mean, I know what they dealt with when they came here, and that's the same level of respect that we want to show to immigrants that are coming in the year 2021. So it's an ancient text, but the modern implications for it are right there. You just have to turn on the news and read what's going on in the world, and it's right there. You just have to look at it.
And everything is tied to this very vague and mysterious concept of being holy.
Yes.
What does it mean to be holy? What do we mean when we say, okay, this is what you need to do to be holy, to act in a holy way?
Well, I think it's really interesting, because we always say, you try to be like God, you try to be like God, but yet I recognize, as a 21st century Jew and as a rabbi someday, that there are people that struggle with the notion of God. I mean, the whole name Yisrael means struggles with God. And so there are people that maybe don't believe in God, or they don't know what the notion of God is. Does that mean that they're not good Jews? Of course not. It actually means that they're good for thinking about these things and for struggling with it. And I think that just because people struggle with them doesn't mean they can't be considered doing holy work. Because if you're out there helping people and doing good things to make the world a better place and treating people with respect, that to me is holy, whether people realize it or not. And it's actually one of the reasons why I decided to take this journey to become a rabbi, is because I want to teach people that. I want to teach people that you don't have to have a certain rigorous belief system or rigorous way of practicing things. I believe that you can be Jewish and be holy in a lot of different ways, and I want to teach people that, to help them find their entry points into Judaism. And I don't see any better place than this particular parsha doing that.
In some parts of the parsha, it seems that the bar is set quite high for people. Love thy neighbor as much, as much as you love yourself. That's a high bar. When you look at this parsha and this list of behaviors that we are expected to perform, do you feel that this is unrealistic, or no, I can do that?
Well, I think it really it depends on, I mean, I hate to use this analogy, but New Year's resolutions, people tend to say, oh, I'm going to lose 100 pounds, or I'm going to do this, and people set these unrealistic expectations for themselves. And I think the same could also be said for the way you practice, the way you interpret the text here. That, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to be holy. And here we are, the day after one of the most monumental, if not the most monumental, civil rights verdicts in United States history. And when I go back and I think about Rabbi Heschel, who walked with Martin Luther King in 1965, I believe it was, in Selma, Alabama, and that famous quote about praying with your feet. He was not in a synagogue. He was not davening. He was marching. He was protesting. He was standing arm in arm with somebody of a different faith, of a different skin color, and that's holy work. And I think that that's the kind of thing people need to realize. So if you're out there expressing your belief and you're standing up for injustice where you see it, and you're working hard to correct the wrongs in the world, and you're fighting for justice, tzedek tzedek tirdov, I think that's holy work. And it may not be exactly what it says on that page, but I think doing these things and standing up for what you believe in and making this world a better place for everybody is holy work. And that's what I believe is the holiness code. And I think that's what maybe unintentionally the text is trying to tell us.
The best parsha in the Torah. I should probably wish you a happy birthday, as well as
about another month, but yeah.
as well as Shabbat Shalom, and thank you.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.